Dear friends and colleagues of the Barents region, my name is Petter Kristiansen Arnesen, and I am very grateful to be here welcoming you to the Barents Youth Conference of 2021 on the physical and mental health of youth in the Barents region. The Norwegian chairmanship of the Barents Euro-Arctic Cooperation and the Västerbotten chairmanship of the Barents Regional Council are proud to present the speakers of this conference. Today's speakers have a diverse knowledge and expertise, all concerning important aspects of the health of young people in the Barents region. First, we will hear from the state secretaries of the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Children and Families. Then we will hear from the Västerbotten chair of the Barents Regional Council and from the chair of the Barents Regional Youth Council. Beginning our thematic section, we will hear from two knowledgeable academics on young Sami identity and mental health, and interpartner violence among Swedish youth, respectively. After a short break, we will first hear about the mental health of youth in the Arkhangelsk region, then a presentation on youth work and mental health in Finland, before we round off with a presentation about physical literacy and quality youth sports. We will not be taking questions live today, but you may email the speakers with questions after the conference. Without further ado, I give the floor to State Secretary Audun Halvorsen of the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. State Secretary, the floor is yours.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of the Barents region. On behalf of the chairmanship of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council, it is a pleasure for me to welcome you to this webinar hosted by the Norwegian Ministry of Children and Families. The topic on today's agenda is of great importance to all of us and has been given high priority throughout the Norwegian chairmanship, where knowledge has been a key theme. Conversations with the people of the region is one of the most valuable ways to gain new insights. We cannot discuss policies for a strong, forward-looking Barents region without including the voices of the young. The young are our future. However, they are also very much present here and now and must be given a seat at the table. Since the beginning of our chairmanship, Norway has enjoyed a close cooperation with the Barents Regional Youth Council, and mental health for young people is one of the main concerns of the Youth Council, and health has been another of the priorities for the Norwegian chairmanship. In today's seminar, we will address this topic in depth with advice and input from experts and young representatives. Obviously, due to COVID-19, not all activities under Norway's chairmanship have gone quite as we had hoped. However, we remain committed to ensuring the continued development of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council. And we are now preparing for the Barents Euro-Arctic Council Ministerial in Tromsø on October 26th. We look forward to hosting the first ever Barents Youth Summit in the margins of this ministerial. The Youth Summit is a concrete and direct outcome of the recommendation presented by the Youth Panel to the Norwegian White Paper on the Arctic launched last year. Like these wise youngsters have told us, real youth involvement does not come from having their picture in the paper with the minister, but from having the minister listen to their advice. Dear friends, it is our common responsibility to make sure that the Barents region is a good place to live for our youth. The pandemic has been hard for all of us, but especially problematic for many young people who have found themselves isolated and lonely. So today's discussions are of crucial importance. Thank you and best of luck with the webinar.
Thank you very much, State Secretary Audun Halvorsen of the Norwegian MFA. Next, we have Lars Lustig, Vice Governor and Västerbotten Chair of the Barents Regional Council. Lars, the floor is yours.
Thank you. State Secretaries, dear friends of the Barents region, it's a great pleasure for me to be here today. Interactions in our region and between our countries have been ongoing for centuries. It is often said that the dynamics between the regional and the national levels are what makes the Barents cooperation unique. When stakeholders from national, regional and local levels together with the indigenous people and the youth are sitting at the same table, it creates a unique environment and spirit. The strength of the Barents cooperation lies in the people of the region, their knowledge, experience, cultural expressions, diversity, and heritage. The future of the Barents region relies in continued efforts and investments in youth, culture, health, and social issues, as well as education and research. Young people are the most valuable resource and have a beneficial interest in the future development of the Barents region. An active youth policy in the Barents region is required to secure a sustainable population in the region. Youth is one of the priorities for Västerbotten and a question that we consider crucial for successful Barents cooperation. Youth has been a priority for a long time for both national and regional chairmanships. This shows the importance of the youth issue. Youth have a special place in the Barents cooperation as well as youth representatives take part in all levels of the cooperation and are included in all discussions, even at ministerial meetings. Meeting across regional and national borders ties the youth together, and the bond will stay with them for the rest of their lives. This is something quite unique in international relations. We are grateful for work of the Barents Regional Youth Council, who plays an important role in ensuring youth participation. Young people's health is a part of our priorities. There are many sports initiatives and exchanges between our regions. Sports serves not only as motivation for physical activity, but also exemplifies our similarities in climate and culture. Västerbotten is concerned about the physical and mental health among youths in the Barents region. We see a drop in physical activity and in the participation of organized sports among children and youth. The pandemic situation seems to have speeded up this development. With this negative trend, parents, schools, and healthcare today struggle to give children a healthy lifestyle. To understand the current state of children's health in the Barents region and to seek recommendations regarding concrete strategies and tools, we are now conducting a study. And this study will be presented at the council meeting in October. During our joint chairmanships, Västerbotten and Norway have worked to strengthen the close interaction between national, regional, and local levels together with people-to-people contacts in which indigenous people and youth play an important part. This has been the cornerstone of the cooperation in the past and will be so also in the future. I am looking forward to a highly relevant and interesting seminar today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lars Lustig, Västerbotten Chair of the Barents Regional Council. Now, please welcome State Secretary Ingvild Ofte Arntzen of the Norwegian Ministry for Children and Families. State Secretary, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the Barents region, welcome to this conference on the physical and mental health of young people in the Barents region. I am very glad to open this event. The Norwegian chairmanship is giving high priority to youth as today's young people hold the key to the future of the Barents region. Support for multilateral cooperation between young people in the region in the areas of sports, culture, and education is crucial. Dialogue and contact between young people in Norway, Russia, Finland, and Sweden help to build a common identity and mutual understanding. This is an important investment for the inhabitants of the Barents region. When young people form lasting friendship and networks, they provide a basis for solving common challenges in the future. We need to include the voices of the youth in all aspects of our work. For a resilient Barents region, we are impressed by the insightful input they give us. In November, we had inspiring conversations with young people from the north to discuss the government's white paper on the Arctic. This made it even clearer how important it is to include young people in our conversations. We must listen and learn. The Barents Regional Youth Council is an important contributor in our webinar today. I firmly believe that solutions for tomorrow's Barents region lie in increasing our knowledge, expanding our dialogue, and using our experience to think along new lines. Together, we can find new ways to target our joint efforts to make the Barents region a good place to live for youth. We are discussing today's topic in a unique situation. The pandemic has been challenges challenging for the Barents region. For many young people in the region, the past year and a half has been difficult. Many have families and friends in different countries and have not been able to meet them for a long time. Most young people have managed the pandemic well. Many have family, friends, and communities that have supported them. Some have even thrived with more time to spare. They have spent much of their time with their families, being creating, learning new skills, and building friendships digitally. Still, we have to realize that COVID-19 has changed the character of our days and made many aspects of young people's lives more difficult. As a result, we see the mental health is becoming increasingly important. That is why I'm very pleased that we are gathered to discuss the health of young people in the Barents region today, to share our knowledge, engage in dialogue, and learn how we can continue working together for the benefits of young people in the Barents region. The program is full of interesting topics and people. I am certain that this meeting will be fruitful. I wish you luck with the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, State Secretary Ingvild Ofte Arntzen of the Norwegian Ministry for Children and Families. Now we will hear from Daria Makotina, Chair of the Barents Regional Youth Council, joining us from Copenhagen. Daria, the word is yours.
Hello everyone, colleagues, Barents friends. I'm very grateful for being the representative of the Barents Regional Youth Council today, because youth are our main focus, and we are very much looking forward to develop the conversations about physical and mental health. We have done enormous amount of work during our last 5 years because we have noticed the rise of the questions from the young people, especially from the rural areas, who have no or fewer access to services that help them to promote the well-being, to feel better, and to feel healthy. And we are very much looking forward to creating the platform that will create as well an infrastructure for young people to reach out, to conversate, to have a dialogue with our political representatives, local stakeholders, cities, all the interested people who are very much supportive and who are trying to and who have accomplished some of the results in improving the well-being of our Arctic and our Barents region. During seminars and projects where we have focused on physical, mental health, gender equality, domestic violence, we have figured out that during COVID, these issues have become even more visible. Youth are normally resilient. We are healthy and we are quite adaptive to the new conditions. But the pandemic shown that we unfortunately are not able to sometimes express what we truly feel. And I'm very grateful for all our future speakers for today who are raising such an important issue and who are inviting us to seek some sort of support and help in order to find answers to our own questions. I'm very grateful for our fruitful work with the Norwegian chairmanship and the Ministry of Children and Families for the last 2 years, because we have created several programs for young people who have shown that we truly deserve the seat at the table. Thanks again and welcome to the webinar. Best of luck.
Thank you very much, Daria. The contribution of youth in the Barents Regional and the Barents Regional Youth Council is an important part of the Barents cooperation, especially concerning mental health of the young people in the region. Now we turn to our thematic speakers. who will speak about different aspects of the physical and mental health of young people in the Barents region. I'm pleased to introduce Professor Leonard Hansen of the University of Tromsø. He will speak on young Sami identity and mental health. Ketil, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I hope you can see my PowerPoints. I'm very happy to be a part of this webinar. My name is Leonard. I come from a Sami reindeer herding family in northern Norway, close to the Lofoten Island. I am professor in public health at the Arctic University of Norway in Tromsø. And the last 2 years I have been working with this study. It's called the MIA study. And it's about the young indigenous Sami identity and mental health, about risk and resilience factors. This project is done together with Mental Health Youth Organization in Norway and the University of Oslo and the mental health unit called SANGS for Sami people that have office in Karasjok. In this study, I have been now 2 years collecting data about the Sami youth identity and mental health. We started the project before the COVID. I was interviewing lots of young people living in Norway. So I was traveling around from the Russian border and down to Oslo, interviewing Sami people living in different Sami areas in Norway. And Sami people that was from the North Sami area, the Lule Sami area, and the South Sami area, speaking 3 different Sami languages. And I was also talking with Sami youth living in both rural and cities. And I did 12 deep interview with Sami youth. And they told me lots of different stories on how it is to be a Sami in the modern world. We also had some focus interview, and we're talking with the health professionals that work with the Sami youth, and we had two interview. And when the COVID started, we also started a questionnaire study. So we have data from 250 Norwegian Sami youth in our sample. And this year we made one report, and I'm sorry to say it's still only Norwegian language. We did that together with our partners, and it was published in the end of February. And we also made 3 movies about identity, about discrimination and mental health. And I'm sorry to say they are not translated to English subtitle yet. So I'm sorry for that. So in this study, we were very focused about identity and also about if the youth Sami experience bullying and discrimination at school and in the local community and in social media. One of the girls I was interviewing told me that the Sami word is or Sápmi, the Sami word for the Sami land in Norway, Sweden, Finland, and part of Russia, say Sápmi is like Harry Potter's magical world. It's like a secret world that we share together with the other Samis and our families, and the majority pers in the different countries, they don't know so much about our world, she was telling me. Because we know that majority people, they haven't learned so much about Sami culture and identity in school and in society, because we had a very rough process with forced assimilation of the Sami people in all the 4 different countries. And we see today that Sami youth is still affected by the old policy of colonization of the Sami, because the Sami community of youth are very diverse. Some Sami people live in majority areas in Norway. Today I am in Kautokeino, and here 95% of the people are Sami in this community, and it's no problem to learn Sami at school. But lots of Sami live in other areas in Norway, in what we call minority Sami areas, and there's more difficult for them to practice Sami and to learn Sami, and lots of Sami adults and their grandparents, they didn't learn Sami at school because they went to boarding schools and because of the assimilation process. So lots of Sami today, they have to take their identity back. And one good thing we see in this project is that lots of Sami are very proud of their identity. And we see that new generation of Sami youth, they are taking back their culture, they are taking back their language, but still there is some problems to be two culture and to be indigenous. Lots of Sami youth experience difficult with being Sami, and in this study 75% of the Sami youth say they have experienced discrimination in the Norwegian society. It's a very, very big number. And we know from other studies I have been done among Sami adults that 1 of 3 have experienced discrimination. But lots of Sami youth that live in this Sami minority area say that they have experienced discrimination at school, in local community, and lots of young Sami experience discrimination online. And we know that people often write bad things about Sami people on Facebook and in different social media. According to the COVID and the pandemic, lots of these young people I have been talking with say that to meet other Sami is very important for them. So, for example, Sami festival is very important, to have places where they can talk with other Sami youth and be themselves. So lots of Sami or the young people told me that they it's very good for them to have this safe spaces, and we know that both in the South Sami area and the North Sami area there's lots of different festivals, but the last 2 years it haven't been festivals, so lots of people have not had the option to meet other Sami, so that have been a problem under the pandemic period. Yeah. So lots of Sami experience lots of different difficulties to be Sami, and to be some of the people I've been talking with are reindeer herders, and there is like 2 different worlds, one the Sami world and the Norwegian world, and some can have problem to have a successful have success in both worlds in a way, and to be just to be a good reindeer herders and to be a good Norwegian in a way. And some struggle with the different issues that are related to identity. And some of the young people told me about experience with the domestic violence that also have been one big issue among Sami the last year. They talk about things that are related to mental health because they become discriminated, and we know from other studies that to be discriminated or bullied at school affect mental health a lot. And lots of people talk about things that happen online because young people are online very much in a way. When I talk with the health professionals, they say that lots of people have minority stress because of issues that are related to be indigenous. Some young people tell me about issues that are related to get access to culture sensitive healthcare services. Some of them tell me that it's difficult to get that in their local community because the nurses and the GP and other health professionals don't understand the Sami culture. And lots of people tell that a resilience factor is that the family connect around them when they have problem. Lots of people tell that nature is very important for them. Lots of Sami say they have to move from their local Sami community to take education and to get recognition for their Saminess could be difficult when they go to college or university. Lots of Sami are moving, young Sami people are moving to from rural area to cities, so that Saminess in new areas is important to develop and to get access to Sami communities. For example, in Tromsø, they are going to have a Sami house where young people can meet. So that's important for them in the future. So it's lots of different stories that young people tell me. Some people tell about stress that are related to new industry in the Arctic areas. It's related to mining. We know that lots of young people are in Repparfjorden at the moment and demonstrate against opening a new mine. Some people are talking about stress related to building of new wind meals in reindeer, in traditional reindeer herding families. So it's different story that these young people tell me. But the good thing is that lots of young people are very proud of their ethnicity, and we see that lots of young people share their indigenous identity in television program for young people. They are very creative, so that's a good thing, and lots of young people are taking back their culture and identity, and lots of them have think about a good future, but they also think about stress factors related to that. How will the Sami identity survive in the future with all this new thing that happen in the Arctic? Some people talk about climate change and thing that is related to reindeer herding and fishing industry and things like that. And lots of young people also think about how they are going to take care of the Sami language in the future, if there will be kindergarten for their future children and things like that. Lots of Sami people that move from the rural area taking education want to go back to the rural area if there is possibilities for them to get work there and things like that. So there is lots of different stories, and I hope that we will publish some of this thing from this study in English very soon, so it also be possible to read it for you that not are Norwegian or Scandinavian speakers. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop there, but just send me an email if you have some question to me after.
Leonard. The perspective of indigenous peoples in the Barents region is important to any subject concerning the region, not least mental health, and disseminating knowledge about the Sami culture and Sami people and fighting discrimination against the Sami people is very important. Next, joining us from Stockholm University is Dr. Sibel Corkmas, who will speak on inter-partner violence among Swedish youth. Sibel, please go ahead.
So thank you very much for inviting me to present here today at the Barents Youth Conference. I'm very pleased to be able to share a brief overview of what I've been working on for the last 5 years. So my name is Sibel Corkmas. So I'm a PhD in social work. I'm also a qualified social worker, and I'm a PhD at Stockholm University. I finished and defended my thesis on youth intimate partner violence, youth IPV, in Sweden in May, which I will draw upon in this presentation. First, however, I want to provide one definition of youth IPV, or adolescent dating violence, which is also usually commonly called, especially in the United States. So Leonard and colleagues define adolescent dating violence and abuse as any behaviors that are threatening, controlling, violent, abusive, harassment, or stalking that are directed towards a current or former romantic partner by the other within the context of an adolescent 10 to 18 years old dating relationship. And this can include either or a combination of physical, psychological, emotional, and sexual behaviors, and can take place in person or electronically via technology, such as a mobile phone or online, and occurs regardless of gender or sexuality. So that was just one definition. Now I'm going to tell you about this larger research project on youth IPV in Sweden that I've been working in, led by Professor Karolina Överlien. So in Sweden, intimate partner violence between adults, domestic violence, and men's violence against women are all rather well investigated topics and are considered to be serious social problems. Youth IPV, however, can be defined as a social problem that has fallen through the cracks, likely owing to a narrow notion of who may be a potential victim of such violence. So taking this into consideration, or having this as a background, this study, as the first larger study on youth IPV conducted in Sweden, aimed to contribute to fill the knowledge gap on youth IPV in a Swedish context, and thereby shed light on this social problem. As a forerunner, we had an extensive European study called the STIR study, which involved 5 European countries, including Norway. So we used the same instruments as did the STIR study, but we adapted them to fit a Swedish context, as well as added some questions. So just as they did in these 5 European countries, we have conducted a mixed method study. We have gathered quantitative data using a survey. Additionally, as the other part of the study, we have conducted qualitative interviews. Before collecting the survey and the interview data, a youth advisory group was set up. And the group consisted of 5 girls, aged 17. And I met with this group and outlined the research project for them, than before we even started. And they were asked to comment on the questionnaire and the interview guide, ensuring that the wording and the terms we used were understandable and appropriate for their age group. And they provided indispensable comments, validating the research instruments in a way. And following the youth advisory group's advice, we used a broad definition of an intimate relationship when in our research project or dating, acknowledging that teenagers and youth might be involved in different types of relationships, such as hookups, being friends with benefits, not only the boyfriend, girlfriend, partner dyad. So I want to briefly just give you an even better idea or a more descriptive idea of the research project and the different studies. So in the survey study, 1,004 high school students in Sweden, aged 15 to 19, have participated. And they participated in a survey about their own experiences of intimate partner violence. They were asked if they had been subjected to violence, physical, psychological, and/or sexual violence, how often it happened, and where. And firstly, in the study, or in the survey, the youth were asked whether they ever had been in a romantic relationship. And those who did made up a subsample, which the analysis in our study are based on. And this subsample consisted of 51% girls and 47% were boys. And drawing upon this survey data, we asked how prevalent is IPV victimization in a sample of Swedish youth? What are the characteristics and determinants of youth IPV victimization? To what degree is youth IPV victimization gendered? And in which arenas do youth IPV take place? As for the qualitative data, for the interview study, we conducted 18 qualitative interviews with youth. They were aged 17 to 23 at the time of the interviews who had been subjected to intimate partner violence. 15 of them were girls who had been subjected to violence in a heterosexual relationship. One respondent was female and had been subjected to IPV in a same-sex relationship, and 2 respondents were male and had also been subjected to violence in a same-sex relationship. And to recruit these youth, information letters were sent out to youth clinics and other agencies that target youth all over Sweden. And from an ethical point of view, a criterion to participate was set that abusive relationship needed to have ended. And these interviews were conducted with a teller-focused approach, using open-ended questions to encourage the youth to feel free to tell their story. So here we also asked questions on where the violence took place and how the social network, like parents and people at school, like teachers, responded if and when they gained knowledge about the violence and how the relationship came to an end. So the objectives drawing upon the interview data were to explore how a sample of youth victims of IPV describe their victimization in regards to responses, resistance, resilience, as well as paradoxical resilience. And to explore how a sample of youth victims describe how their abusive relationships came to an end. So now I'm gonna very briefly present some of the main results. And I first want to show you the victimization rates. I hope you can see them on your screen, that we got from the survey data. And as you can see to the left, we have the experiences in total, and then we have isolated and more multiple or repeated experiences respectively. So we have the numbers for the sample as a whole and then divided by gender. As for sexual violence, we also kind of analyzed what we called severe sexual violence, referring then to violence that included penetration. So as you can see, it's rather high numbers, and I will point out the main results in just a few minutes. But if you want to if you look at the general experience for psychological violence, then face-to-face, than happening in person. The numbers were as high as 40%. So 40% of the sample replied that they had some kind of experience of psychological violence face-to-face. And further, here we have a table on arenas, since we asked where the violence took place. And the most commonly reported arena was the partner's house for all types of violence. And here it's important to note that most respondents reported that they had been in a relationship with someone the same age, meaning that the partner also was a teenager, presumably also living with parents. So partner's house should rather be partner's parents' house in a way, which is, I think, is an important point to have in mind. So the main results show that over the half of the sample in the survey study reported experience of some form of IPV, and that girls experience more repeated IPV compared to boys. Boys do report violence, but the characteristics of it seem to differ compared to girls. Furthermore, it places youth IPV in a physical context, suggesting that it takes place in different arenas, such as the parents' house, the partner's house, or at school. Overall, the results show that youth IPV takes place in arenas where adults dwell. Hence, it's not possible for the adult world to dismiss youth IPV as something undetectable. So one of the studies that draw upon the interview data illustrates the dynamics of IPV victimization, establishing it as a social phenomenon and underlines the agency of young people in the midst of an abusive relationship. It shows how it shows varying responses, like a lack of response or basically no response from 3 different actors, parents, the school, as well as the youth themselves, all from the young person's perspective. Overall, the data show that youth-specific factors like parental dependency, attending school, have a meaningful bearing on responses as well as resilience. Additionally, we can see from the interview data that how the young people describe how their abusive relationship came to an end. And it shows that the ending process for youth may be different than for adults, since these youth-specific factors create unique barriers, like the desire to be a girlfriend or the status of it, and bridges like the help out from a relationship, like parental responsibilities for young people seeking to end abusive relationships. So in sum, the main results show that youth IPV seems to be comparable to adult IPV. The violent acts seem to be comparable. However, youth-specific factors affect their victimization and need to be acknowledged, like how you may attend the same school as the partner, or you still live at home. Those factors seem to affect victimization. Moreover, a convincingly body of research as well as this study reveals youth IPV to be a gendered problem. So this study shows clearly gendered patterns of girls reporting more repeated violence victimization compared to boys, and also shows how gender norms affect victimization. So through a study of young people's testimonies of IPV victimization, this work overall showed the importance of expanding the discourse on men's violence against women and intimate partner violence to include young victims as well. So as my final remark, I want to move beyond this rather abstract level and revisit one of the interviews that I made that really made an impression, an interview that truly pinpoints why our perception about intimate partner violence victims must change. So at the very end of my interview with an 18-year-old girl I call Jenny, I asked her why she had emailed me wanting to participate in the interview study, and she replied, "My friends have never talked about it or mentioned it, youth IPV. They have never asked like anything, and it's easy to hide it if you don't have like bruises. That's why I wanted to participate in the study, to contribute to that it is acknowledged, that it like happens when you're young too, because many people think that it's only married couples like with kids and so, where the mother is quiet and it's only happening when the husband is drunk and so, or on drugs, but it doesn't." So I think I'm going to stop here with Jenny's words, and thank you very much. If you have any questions or comment, please email me. And if you are interested in my thesis or want a copy, I would be happy to send you one. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sibel Corkmas of Stockholm University. Inner partner violence is, as you say, a public health issue as well as a gender issue, not least in the Barents region. And it's important to consider young people being both victims and perpetrators of inner partner violence to combat this very serious issue. Now we'll take a short break until 1300 Central European summertime, or for 14 minutes, I think. After 18 months of digital meetings, we have learned that pauses are important in these kinds of things. So please tune in after the break. Thank you and see you shortly. Welcome back to the Barents Youth Conference of 2021. Due to some issues with the chat, we unfortunately had to shut that down, but the Q&A function is still up if you want to ask any questions to the speakers. We have 3 more speakers, first of which is Valeria Tsyvareva, specialist on youth from the Arkhangelsk region. She will be speaking on mental health and the COVID-19 pandemic among youth in the Arkhangelsk region. Valeria, over to you.
Добрый день, коллеги. Хотела бы представить всех и сказать спасибо за возможность выступить, и также представить вашему вниманию исследование, которое я проводила среди молодежи по влиянию COVID-19 на их психологическое состояние в первую очередь и вообще состояние в целом. Коронавирус стал испытанием для многих, в том числе и для молодежи. Для молодежи довольно сильным испытанием стал, потому как наложились многие проблемы, с которыми мы не готовы были столкнуться. И в первую очередь это неопределенность в будущем и режим ограничений, смена формата работы с онлайна на офлайн, финансовая тревожность, стресс, тревога касаемо своего будущего. Также необходимость вакцинироваться и ношение масок и перчаток даже у кого-то вызывает большой стресс. И я проводила исследование в современных реалиях. Естественно, я проводила его онлайн по нашему большому региону, по нашей области, и мне удалось опросить более 100 человек, которые остались неравнодушными к этой теме. И также я общалась лично с сотрудниками нашего молодежного центра, которые также высказали свои мнения насчет влияния пандемии. Проводила я это исследование 1,5 месяца, и многие отметили, что уже начиная с середины марта 2020 года, когда начали вводить ограничения в России, уже был довольно такой промежуток большого стресса, когда многим приходилось оставаться дома и менять формат работы. Школьники и студенты переходили на онлайн-режим, и многие переживали серьезные психологические потрясения на фоне ограничений, также испытывали большой стресс. На личном примере хочу сказать, что мне самой приходилось сдавать экзамены в онлайн-формате, и общение с преподавателями проходило через онлайн-формат. Многие сотрудники отмечают, что сейчас, несмотря на то, что уже некоторые ограничения сняты, но некоторые остались, все равно испытывают выгорание по причине смены формата работы, и многие мероприятия, многие встречи, которые проводятся для молодежи, для сплочения молодежи, для командообразования, приходится переносить в онлайн, и резкий переход от одного формата работы к другому становится причиной выгорания многих молодых людей, и из-за этого многие испытывают еще больше стресс, чем испытывали просто в режиме ограничений. Естественное дело, упор на молодежь в моем исследовании. Большинство это люди 30-35 лет, и также школьники и студенты приняли участие в моем исследовании. И, ну, естественно, большая часть людей — это работающая молодежь, которые остаются неравнодушными к этому вопросу и которые сталкиваются не только в личной жизни с какими-то вопросами и проблемами, но также и в рабочем режиме. Я опросила большую часть нашей области. 11 районов области приняли участие в исследовании. Большая часть — это, конечно же, жители нашего города, города Архангельск, также жители соседних городов, но и большая часть сельской молодежи приняла участие в этом исследовании, что меня очень радует, потому что ни один возраст, ни одна сфера не осталась равнодушной к этому вопросу. Люди абсолютно из разных сфер отвечали, и многие чувствуют на самом деле похожие очень проблемы, несмотря на то, что они работают в разных сферах. То есть, как я сказала уже, и государственные служащие, рабочая молодежь, люди, которые работают с молодежью, они испытывают выгорание, так и другие, например, школьники, студенты. Очень большое количество медицинских работников ответило на то, что они испытывают еще больше стресс в связи с тем, что им приходится напрямую работать с людьми, которые подверглись влиянию ковида, не только физически, но и психологически в том числе, это психологи. Также люди из сферы услуг, которые столкнулись с большим рядом ограничений. Учителя, которые быстро очень переходили из формата офлайн работы в формат онлайн работы, работники сферы культуры, спортсмены, сферы торговли также испытывают все похожие трудности, и мы все сталкиваемся с ними, мне кажется, каждый день. И я была удивлена, что не только госслужащие сталкиваются с такими проблемами, но и другие сферы нашей жизни. Также вы можете видеть то, что большинство людей отмечают, что они чувствуют пандемию в районе и влияние также пандемии на окружающих людей очень сильно. Да, это вот 36,5% опрошенных людей чувствуют именно большое влияние вокруг себя. И, в принципе, довольно стабильное состояние, да, у самих лично людей, то есть они стараются справляться с этими трудностями, несмотря на то, что они, в принципе, есть. И какие последствия COVID-19 отмечают многие, почему многих все-таки беспокоит то, что психологическое состояние ухудшается, и из-за чего оно ухудшается. Это, конечно же, необходимость вакцинироваться, носить средства индивидуальной защиты. Кроме того, многие отмечают то, что пришлось потерять или сменить работу. Также долгий поиск работы — это тоже одно из важных критериев, которые вызывают тревожность у людей, особенно у молодежи и выпускников высших учебных заведений, институтов и университетов. Также потеря близких людей, снижение количества контактов вследствие самоизоляции, смена финансового состояния, то есть, опять же, связано с потерей работы, и изменение в целом уровня жизни, то есть не только финансовое состояние, да, но и какое-то внутреннее психологическое состояние поменялось, к чему приходится очень сильно адаптироваться. И на самом деле не так много людей отмечают, что пандемия положительно повлияла на их состояние, что ничего не изменилось, или наоборот, появился некий толчок к новым действиям, вдохновение, то есть ищут какие-то новые хобби, новую работу, переосознают жизнь, понимают, как жить дальше и выстраивать отношения и общение с людьми из других сфер. То есть в целом можно отметить, что психологическое состояние очень нестабильно и оставило даже негативный след на большинстве моих опрошенных людей, и опрошенных мною людей. И очень многие замечают, что очень сложно выстраивать именно отношения. Многие испытывают тревожность, многие испытывают стресс, однако все равно люди стараются оставаться спокойными в данной ситуации. Некоторые даже отмечают, что стабильное состояние, несмотря на то, что люди отмечают, что они столкнулись с проблемами, все равно стараются вести ход дальнейшей жизни таким же, как он и был до пандемии, таким же, как он и был до трудностей, с которыми столкнулись люди. Вот. И о возможных психических последствиях и психологических пандемий COVID-19 можно говорить уже и сейчас. И они затрагивают не только людей, которые болели сами или пережили болезнь близких, а также которые столкнулись с трудностями после пандемии. Связанные с карантином меры также приводят к росту беспокойства и стресса, потому что многие отмечают тот факт, что они не могут планировать дальнейшую свою деятельность и жизнь. Как же люди справляются с трудностями? То есть последний вопрос моего исследования заключался в том, чтобы помочь друг другу, возможно, понять, каким образом необходимо выходить из этой стрессовой ситуации, как восстанавливать свое психологическое состояние. И очень радует то, что многие предлагали действительно хорошие варианты, то, что может помочь не только молодежи, но и людям другого возраста, не только людям в Архангельской области, но и вообще по всему миру, да, жить дальше и справляться с новыми трудностями, идти дальше в дальнейшем ходе жизни. Многие осваивают новые хобби, пробуют новые профессии. Некоторые смирились с потоком информации и с жизнью, и привыкают к нему, либо делают прививку и продолжают путешествовать. Также многие отмечают, что очень сильно пандемия и ограничения развивают самоорганизацию, то есть люди самостоятельно выстраивают процесс дальнейшей работы, и некоторые перешли на новые профессии, на новые удаленные профессии, онлайн-профессии, и это также позволяет развить самоорганизацию и стать более скоординированным с самим собой. Некоторые отмечают, что сложно справляться с трудностями, и они обращаются к психологу. Некоторые стали больше следить за своим здоровьем, если до этого они делали это меньше обращались к врачу, то сейчас это уже стало одним из актуальных вопросов нашей жизни. Также многие больше ходят пешком и избегают общественного транспорта, толп людей. Это также затрагивает и вопрос шопинга, то есть некоторые переходят из офлайн шопинга в онлайн шопинг, чтобы также не сталкиваться с людьми. Многие отмечают, что плюс пандемии – это проводить больше времени с близкими, и то есть если некоторые люди забывали в последнее время общаться с близкими своими людьми, то сейчас они стараются выделять больше времени в своем рабочем графике для того, чтобы проводить время с близкими людьми. И некоторые также отмечали, что стараются меньше смотреть новостей, потому что СМИ освещают довольно негативные стороны современной жизни и негативные последствия COVID-19, и некоторые перестали смотреть телевизор совсем. Я думаю, что готова закончить, и можно воспользоваться советами людей, которые отвечали в моем исследовании и предлагали варианты решения данных проблем. Большое спасибо.
Thank you very much, Valeria Tsivareva, specialist on youth from the Arkhangelsk region. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected the entire Barents region, and it is interesting and valuable to hear of the specific experiences of Arkhangelsk. I believe we have many common experiences, but also unique challenges in our different regions. Next, from Mieli, the Finnish Association for Mental Health, we have Elina Marjamäki. She will speak to us about youth work and mental health in Finland. Please, Elina, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I will just one click and yes. Thank you and good afternoon for everyone, and thank you for inviting me for this to this interesting conference and for the interesting presentations. I work for the Mind Mental Health Finland, and we are an NGO. So my point of view is from the NGO point of view. And my topic is youth work and mental health, and how we are supporting youth workers to promote mental health. Just a few words about our organization. We are the world's oldest mental health association in the whole world. Already in 1897, our ancestors realized that we have to start doing something about the stigma that is many times associated with mental health problems, so that people have the courage to talk about their issues and seek help early in when the problems are still small. But already back then, they started to talk about creating societies that promote and support people's well-being and mental health. And this is our mission still today. We are promoting mental health by impacting on politics and policy making, so that the decisions would support especially young people, and especially now during the COVID times, but in all times, of course. And we provide training and material for all professionals working with young people, working with small children, and all the way up till elderly people. So we have training and material for all citizens also in Finland. At the same time, we also provide help and support that is easily accessible for people. And during this COVID-19, our national crisis helpline, which is working 24/7, has been really valuable help for people, and they have been a lot of people have called, and we have a crisis chat, a national crisis chat for young people available. So they don't have to call, they can reach help by chatting only. And this has been also really valuable, especially during this time. We also run suicide prevention centers and support groups and personal counseling also. And our fourth mission is to promote active citizenship in Finland and create volunteer-based work. So I work for the Department of Children and Young People, and we are focusing on promoting mental health. And we believe that the best arenas to promote mental health are indeed those places where young people spend their everyday life, like schools, and of course homes are the most important place, but also kindergartens, schools, and many arenas of youth work, as well as sports arenas and facilities. Therefore, the best promoters for mental health are parents, of course. We have to support always parents and give them tools and empathy. But also all the professionals working with children and young people, for them to increase their understanding about their role in mental health promotion, how their work affects in the long run also, and how they are building future generations. So youth workers are one important and crucial professionals working with young people. But when we started this journey with youth workers 10 years ago, it was not, in the beginning, it was not very easy because back in 2011, 10 years ago, mental health was still very much regarded just as problems and negative issues, disorders, etc. So actually, when we started to talk with youth workers about mental health, all they could hear was that we meant depression or bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or psychosis or other disorders and illnesses. So there was a lot of too much like anxiety and fear towards the whole concept of mental health. It was quite a heavy load for these professionals when they are working with young people, if they're focusing on in their mind, like focusing on the problems. So it left you feeling disempowered, unmotivated. There's nothing I can do. What can I do to help this young person? So back then we decided that we have to do something about this whole paradigm and concept of mental health. And we started to talk about mental health as like a new paradigm, as a skill, a life skill that you can learn, you can teach, you can support, and you can strengthen in all times. And the idea that everyone has mental health, even if they have mental health problems or disorders or facing crisis, they still have the mental health that you can learn, teach, support, and strengthen. And third concept in this paradigm is that we all need mental health, even if we don't have any issues or we don't have any crisis at the moment or we don't have any problems. We still need to learn how to take care and maintain our mental health, just as we take care of our physical health, because mental health is the foundation for the whole well-being. And it is also very much the economical factor also. We all know how much mental health problems themselves cause to the societies in whole Europe, for example. And during this COVID-19, this pandemic has even raised the issue that we have to strengthen the mental health, especially young people. So when we started to talk about mental health skills, we talk about daily routines and habits that promote your mental health, about self-knowledge, values, your strengths, self-appreciation. Self-esteem is important, and self-appreciation. Talking with young people about this aspect and theme. Emotional skills, really important for your mental health, especially during adolescence. Emotions are in turbulence in many ways, and you have to learn to accept and express and recognize and learn different, especially vocabulary for the emotions. Interaction skills, promoting friendships, creating safe groups, preventing bullying, really important factors for mental health and mental health promotion. Coping skills. Now during COVID time, we all have had to seek for new coping skills and learn new ways to cope during this crisis. And we can talk with young people about these different, their strategies, learning to seek help, and sexual health as a mental health skill during adolescence, very important to feel accepted, to feel included, to feel approved and feel loved. Safety net as a skill, we can teach young people and us also learning to find support and help from home, school, where you can find help from society, what kind of web-based services are there available. Stress management and recovery, one of the mental health skills, very important nowadays when young people are facing so much pressure from the society to succeed. Social media is full of other young people who are very successful, and it puts pressure on all of us. So we need new skills, and especially this recovery skills has been an important aspect lately for your mental health. Participation and inclusion, really important for all of us to feel that we are included in the society, and to have this feeling of participation. And this is something youth work is very good at. And of course, talking about dreams and visions, how important they are, that young people see that they have some goals in the future, that they have some light in the end of the tunnel, and how we can help them and support them with this. So these are all skills that we call mental health skills, that youth workers can strengthen all of these mental health skills, just like they can do it in the kindergarten and in schools and in the job place. But especially in youth work, they are really experts in being interaction with young people. They are not afraid of young people, like sometimes maybe teachers might be. So we created this whole concept together with youth workers and of course young people who tested the material. And today we provide training for youth workers, this mental health power, where we talk all day about this, or now not all day this during COVID, because nobody wants to hang out in Teams for 8 hours, but 1 to 3 hours. And you get the idea that, hey, there's always something I can do. I can always find this young person's strengths. Does this young person need more interaction skills, friendships, or emotional skills, or values? One topic that we train is young people on crisis and coping skills. This is important because youth workers are often very close to young people, and they face a lot of what young people face in their lives. Promoting friendships and preventing loneliness, we just released a board game for this. One important topic also is suicide prevention and young people. We lecture about this and try to help youth workers and encourage them to always be able to and ask young people if they have any doubt that there is some suicidal thoughts that this young person might have, that it is okay always to ask and say it out loud. And mental health and motivation. And one important topic is also the well-being of youth workers themselves, because only well-being adults have the energy, have the motivation and interest in helping young people. And of course, during COVID-19, it's been online only, but hopefully soon we can meet in person. And now these youth workers have been in attending our training, and they have become excited about, yes, there is so much I can do and my work is valuable. Then you need material. So we have this hands-on and practical material for them to use and implement in their work. We have this youth workers guide, which combines theory and practice and some other training material. I placed this in Swedish now because these are available in Finnish and Swedish. And then we have these posters. These are just some examples of our material. But it is important for these youth workers when they have attended our training that they have something that concrete that they can start working with. And posters are really easy way that you can just put it on the wall and start the discussion with young people. This hand of mental health, how do everyday choices affect your mental health? It's like a tool to discuss with young people about the different effects of different choices, how you sleep and rest, to raise discussion, not from above, like adult telling you what you should do, like I try to do with my own young people, but it doesn't work. So you can raise discussion. What do they think? Have they noticed something about how, if they go to sleep, how does that affect your mood, food, eating habits, exercise? Exercise is one of the most effective ways to promote your mental health in the long run. Creativity and pleasure and daily rhythm, just as an equal person, not something as an adult telling you what to do. And it also serves as a self-reflection tool. We all need this to reflect our life, like, oh, are my values in line with my actions? If I value my family, do I give them time? So it's important for everybody's mental health. And now just last week, I made this in North Sami also. So we have them available if somebody is interested in posters in North Sami language. And they are available in Swedish also. Emotional skills, we have posters of emotional skills. This is also in Sami language now, just to make it visible, to make this all these emotions visible. And the more you get young people to talk, the more you promote their mental health. Safety net, this is also in Sami. And tool to discuss about coping skills. What is the typical coping skill you use? If you always go jogging, then you have problems. Then what if you hurt your leg? Maybe you should try something new. You can try like meditating or calling your friends, or just to make it visible, the different possibilities, and we should all have different ways to cope in our backpack. And our mission is to have impact on these different levels, like professional growth of youth workers. Oftentimes, professionals who work with children and young people are too underappreciated and undervalued. So we want to make also their important work visible, that this is so important for the future generations. The more you promote friendships, the less there are mental health problems in adulthood. And this also that we encourage them to think about, to create environments that promote mental health, so that every child and every young person knows that when they go to school or they go to youth facilities, they get empowered. They might learn new skills. They might get new ideas. Somebody's interested in them. We work in cooperation with vocational schools and university level education, try to impact the curriculum that it includes more and more of these mental health topics. We provide them different thesis work, and they do some practical training also in our organization. I had one student who made mental health skills training for young people in prison, and she will be doing her third training period in prison this September. So I will be waiting for the young people's feedback for the course. And this is some feedback we have gotten from youth workers. This is important to note that it's empowering. My work is important. And one other thing is, like, promoting mental health is not complicated. It is actually easy. And for their managers, that they have realized that our youth workers' well-being at work is important. So today we are not farther away from each other, but more like working together. So this kiihtu, thank you, and spasiba. I hope I didn't go overtime too much.
No problem. Thank you very much, Elina. Youth work is an important profession and a great way of reaching youth, especially considering mental health. Now, for our final speaker, we have with us Tom Englén, Director of Change the Game, here to talk about physical literacy and quality youth sports. Tom, you have the room.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this conference. It's been an honor and very interesting. I've learned a lot myself so far. So I will tell a little bit about our work we've done here in Umeå and Västerbotten, region of Västerbotten, about trying out physical literacy as a tool for social innovation and especially enhance the quality of how we are delivering youth sports. So I'm representing Change the Game, which is a cross-sector collaboration platform where we have, you can say, most of the major sectors on board working together, founded by our biggest property company here in Umeå. And we have the region, the Sport Federation, the city of Umeå, and the university working together. So we are saying we are building a physical literacy community. So our motivation is basically that every person should have an equal right to be active and have the same opportunity to be healthy and get the most out of their lives. That's our common drive. And our vision, we strive for a physical literacy community. And by that, we mean three things. One, we realize we have to work together between sectors in the society to fix this. Number two, we may need a new compass, and we're trying out using physical literacy as that compass for collaboration. And thirdly, we realize maybe we are the first city and region in Sweden doing this in a broader way, but we encourage more societies in Sweden and else to do the same thing, so we can exchange experiences from each other. Then we will develop faster here locally. So one basic tool for our collaboration is that we have a what we call Umeå Physical Literacy Council, which now also consists of many regional actors. As you can see, we have the city, we have the Sport Federation, the university. Within the city, we have both the school, the leisure department, the city planning department. We also have the Research Institute of Sweden at the board, and this council is growing. And that's because we've been working with physical literacy since the last 4 years. Before that, we were focusing on sports, but then we had a look deeper into what other countries are doing and into research, and we found that physical literacy may be a good thing to focus on. And when we start working with this, more people, more actors came to the table. So we inspired from very much from Canada. They taught us that physical literacy brings everybody to the table. And that's actually what happened here. So we see actors from both working with health and performance and attraction, you can say, joining at the same table, working together. Just some facts about the challenges we have here in Sweden. You may be aware of it, the same everywhere, I think, but the physical activity level are pretty low. Quite a few small part of the kids are meeting the physical activity guidelines for each day. And it's a difference between girls and boys, sad to say. And the dropout in sports is a huge problem. 10.5 years, that's where Swedish sports are peaking right now regarding participation. Before, like 15, 20 years ago, it was 14 years. And it's also depends a lot where you are born, even here in Sweden, in terms of life expectancy, socioeconomic background. So back a little bit about physical literacy. The most adopted definition of physical literacy is the one by International Physical Literacy Association, which says that physical literacy is all about giving people a motivation, confidence, physical competence, knowledge and understanding to value and take responsibility for getting involved in physical activities for life. Okay, so that's the definition. So in practice then, what it says is that you need, you see this picture here, competence, confidence, motivation, and participation is nothing new here, actually. The new thing is how these factors are related. So the physical literacy engine says that if you develop a lot of movement competencies in different environments, air, land, snow, ice, water, and you can use those skills in front of other people, with other people, you gain confidence, you gain intrinsic motivation, and then you're more likely to actively participate in society. So the thing seems to be to get this engine rolling, this engine which we all have inside of us. So it seems like if we get this engine rolling, we get more physically active, but we will get, it seems to be more qualities enhanced when you get the physical literacy engine rolling, because then you are doing more quality activities, which gives not only physical health, but also more social and psychological health. A little bit connected and related to the previous speaker here talked about. So you can say that compared to Lego, it's quite fun to play with Lego, but if you have more parts, different colors, different sizes, and all kinds of puzzle pieces, then you can do a lot of things and you will be creative and it's much more fun. That's the movement perspective of physical literacy. One thing we learned from the research of physical literacy from Canada is that it's a difference between boys and girls when they come to 11 years of age, approximately. Then the movement skills among the boys are much better than the girls. So here you have a lot of movement skills. I won't go through them all, but it basically says when the blue line is longer to the right, then the boys, bigger part, more boys than girls are able to are good at that certain skill, and vice versa. So you can see here that this is actually a big gender mistreatment. They are not, this is pre-puberty kids. So that's a terrible picture, actually. It hurts me when I see these numbers. But actually, it's good news, because this picture says that we might have a solution. We can fix this. If we create the same conditions for the girls as the boys to be to have great movement skills, and then they will stick, the motivation and confidence to move will be maintained and the same as the boys. So the thing is then, it seems like to be to how can we create conditions? How can we create environments? How can we create drills that are better, so to speak? So we're talking about constructing positive challenges. So we are trying to put together guidelines and training coaches, pedagogues, and other leaders in society how to use them. This is an acronym we use, RIK+1, RIK plus N, means rich in Swedish. It says shortly that if you design an activity with these factors in mind, then you will foster development of many different movement skills, or rörelsebank, movement bank in Swedish. If you also design the activity, the environment, so the participant can be creative and make their own solution, their own decision, how to solve the problem, create the quest, then it's even more fun and more beneficial. If you also add a third one, that you enable contact with people, objects, and nature, then will be even more valuable. And thirdly, adjust the level progressively to the participants, +1 progressions. There's a lot of those, but I will give one of very important progression to have in mind. That's the audience effect. This picture, I think everyone has seen. Me as a coach, I get some bad conscience, actually. So many times I created this type of line. And here we have a great line of audience. And the girl first in line should probably do something, get a challenge. If it's a good one, she will probably fail a little bit. And it can hurt a lot to fail. That's one thing to keep in mind. But not so many people are coaches or pedagogues are aware of this kind of progression factor. So create meaning and value in movement context seems to be the key, and to create physical literacy enriched activities and environments. So we have helped, we haven't done so much by ourselves yet, except for testing, but we learned a lot from international experts, practitioners, and researchers, especially this man, Dr. Dean Creelars from Canada. So with his help, we had trained a lot of people in Umeå and in region of Västerbotten. And at the same time, during the 2 years before the pandemic, we traveled around Sweden because there were so many people, especially within the sports federation, that was interested in physical literacy. And we also have done quite a few activity days just to get the kids and families to test new things out. We also had some conferences and exchanging ideas and experiences with people from other countries. And we tried it out in different contexts. I will talk a little bit more about the sport context, but I'll also mention that we tried out in other contexts for activities, but also for designing physical environments. It's an example where the city of Umeå now are developing a new part of the city, in the center part of the city, and one of the guidelines is physical literacy. So it's interesting, it will be a little bit other kind of solutions. We have been inspired quite a lot from other countries. In Canada, for example, which have developed the long-term athlete development model, inspired a lot of the world in sports. They have physical literacy as the #1 factor. In Australia, they have a physical literacy standard designed by the government together with the National Sports Federation. So the sports have adopted physical literacy, and from a movement competency perspective, you can see that if you can run, you can do a lot of things. If you can throw, you can do a lot of things, and so on. And if you can't throw, then you're pretty much enabled to do quite a few kind of activities. So what we've seen, we have tried out, we have trained a lot of coaches, and our sports people working in sports, let's see physical literacy as a tool to make this very important switch in culture within sports to get more people to participate, because it's a huge gap between knowing versus doing. And sports, in Sweden at least, are basically designed by men for men way back. And we have quite a work to do yet to do that better. And it seems like when you look into research, researchers working with sports, the message is quite clear. It should be the same recipe for youth sports that creates both public health and Olympic future medals. So with physical literacy, it seems to be the way that you can kill many birds with one stone here. Participation, but also inclusion, because that's what you create when you have these guidelines creating positive challenges. Durability, physically, but also mentally, flourishing, and performance. So our learnings is that I would just encourage you a little bit on the end here to look deeper into physical literacy, and hopefully you're even more interested, then you're welcome to contact us. But first of all, physical literacy brings everybody to the table to create this collaboration we very much need. And it gives us new eyes. The picture there, the lens, when you see the world through the physical activity lens, it's a little bit different if you switch to the physical literacy lens. So our work is to enrich people, leaders, with this new lens. Then they seem to be very competent to design new sustainable solutions. And we enhance both participation and performance. And it seems like we can have this social innovation tool, physical literacy, to create sustainable individual and community development. So for us, physical literacy is like a Russian doll, nesting doll, you say. We saw this beautiful doll from the beginning, and we was inspired. We had to try this out. And then after a while, we said, okay, we can open this up. It's another one. And then another one. So encourage you to, if you think this was a little bit interesting, or if you have some understanding of physical literacy, please have a deeper look. It seems to be a useful tool to work with. So that's what I want to tell you. And thank you for letting me be a part of the conference, and please reach out to me if you want me to share the slides or to learn more what we're doing or about physical literacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Physical health and sports are an important part of the picture when it comes to youth health in the Barents region. And physical literacy sounds like a very interesting framework to think about that in. Now, to sum up, we have a short word from my good colleague and Barents senior official, Gøril Johansen from the Norwegian MFA. Thank you all.
Thank you, Petter. Dear Barents friends, thank you for participating at another event by the chair of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council Norway and chair of the Barents Regional Council Västerbotten. We have a very close and good cooperation between Oslo and Umeå. On behalf of the chairmanship, I would like to thank all speakers and experts. I think we have heard some really interesting presentations, and personally, I can say that I have recognized several of the points that have been made by the experts. Knowledge is one of the priorities for the Norwegian chairmanship, and I think we have all learned from today's introductions. Most importantly, we all agree that youth is a very important topic in the Barents cooperation. Norway and Västerbotten, we are proud to say that we have given youth a place by the table at all our events. And we look forward to continuing this conversation at the Barents Youth Summit in Tromsø, the 26th of October, the same day as the Barents Euro-Arctic Foreign Ministers meeting. So thank you all and see you soon again.